Hello, welcome back to Piers Rocks. In the last Getting Started with OneROM video, we looked at the OneROM hardware itself and installed some pins onto the OneROM. In this video, we're going to program some ROM images for OneROM to serve. The easiest way to program ROM images to OneROM is using the web programmer. And to do that, you need to use a Chromium-based browser, either Chrome or, if you're using Windows, Edge, and go to onerom.org/web. And that brings up the web-based programmer. Now, before we program OneROM, it's worth talking a little bit about how OneROM works. OneROM is not an EPROM. It emulates EPROMs and other types of ROMs, but it's not an EPROM itself. Therefore, it cannot be programmed by a regular EPROM programmer. In fact, if you try to program OneROM using an EPROM programmer, then you're very likely to damage OneROM. When you're programming an EPROM, all you need to do is give the EPROM programmer software that you're using the ROM image that you want installed on your ROM, press program, and once you've waited for it to program, you're done. OneROM is all based around a microcontroller here. So as well as the ROM images, the microcontroller needs some firmware, which tells it how to actually go about serving those ROM images. When you're programming OneROM, you're programming a combination of the firmware that the microcontroller needs and the ROM image or images that you want OneROM to serve. And for the most part, you don't really need to worry about that complexity because all of the OneROM tooling takes care of building a combined firmware and ROM image load that then gets installed to the device. But it's worth just bearing in mind there is a difference between OneROM and a traditional EPROM. So now we've gone to onerom.org/web, we need to plug our OneROM in to USB. And you can see that the LED has lit dimly on this OneROM. That means it's in programming mode. So the next thing I can do is I can go to the web programmer and I can press connect. Now I need to select the device for the web programmer to connect to. And in this case, it's called RP2350 boot. So I select that and I hit connect. And the web tool has now read the contents of the flash that's on board OneROM. And it knows that it's already running the OneROM firmware. And the OneROM firmware is stopped, which it needs to be so we can program it in a second. We see the firmware version that this OneROM is running and some hardware properties about this particular OneROM. In particular, we can see that this is a 24-pin OneROM Fire and it's hardware revision E. And then down here we can see that it's got 4 ROM images installed on it already, and these are Commodore 64 kernel, basic and character ROMs. To program a OneROM, you scroll down to the programming section, and there's a number of different ways in which you can go about programming OneROM. On this tab, the pre-built image tab, there are some pre-built configurations for different collections of ROMs for different collections of retro systems. Mostly Commodore based because I put this together and I mostly have Commodore based systems. But what we're going to focus on in this video is the custom image tab. And this allows you to upload your own ROM image and have that flashed to OneROM. First thing you need to check is that the device configuration is set up correctly. Now, if this has been previously programmed and you already connected to it, like we just did, this should be pre-populated with the properties of your particular OneROM. And the firmware version is automatically pre-populated to the latest available firmware version. So then what we need to do is we need to upload a ROM image for OneROM to serve. So click on Upload ROM Image. This will bring you a file picker, and then select the ROM image that you actually want to have installed on OneROM. Here I'm going to install a Commodore 64 basic ROM image. So I'm going to open that file. The next thing I need to do is I need to tell OneROM what type of ROM it should be serving. One of the great benefits of OneROM is it can emulate lots of different ROMs. In fact, pretty much all ROM types that came in a 24-pin package can be emulated by OneROM. So you need to tell it what sort of a ROM it needs to emulate. Now, the Commodore 64 bread bin takes 2364 for the basic ROM. So I need to go and select the 2364 ROM type. In fact, you can see here all the different ROM types that the 24-pin ROM supports. So I've selected that. Now, a 2364 ROM is an 8 kilobyte ROM, and the ROM image that I've given it is an 8 kilobyte file. But if you have a ROM image that is smaller, than the ROM type that you want to emulate. This size handling bit allows you to tell the programming tool how you want to handle that. Because I have the right size image, I want to have none selected here. If I only had a 4 kilobyte image and I wanted to duplicate that image to cover the full 8 kilobyte ROM, then I would select duplicate. If I had a ROM image that was too large and I wanted to truncate it, I would select truncate. And if I had, say, a 6 kilobyte ROM image and I just wanted to pad out the remainder of the ROM with null bytes, then I'd select pad. But here, because I've got the right size ROM image, I want to select none. If you're in any, if you've got any questions about what these different options mean, you can go and hover over and a tooltip appears. It's probably too small for you to read in this video. Then the final thing we need to do, because this is a mask programmed ROM and not an EPROM that OneROM is going to be emulating, we have to tell OneROM what its chip select behavior should be. Chip select lines for mask programmed ROMs are those which tell the ROM when it should be active, when it should listen to the address lines and when it should serve bytes. Normally in a retro system you have lots of different ROMs and other chips sitting on a shared address bus and shared data bus, and you only want one of them to be talking at any one point in time. The chip select lines are used to control who talks at any point in time. With the mask programmed ROMs, which begin 23, that behavior was configurable at factory, either for chip select to be active when the logic level is low, a 0, or for the chip select the ROM to be active when the chip select line is high, so a 1. Normally it's 0, but it's not always 0. You have to tell OneROM which of those it is for your particular system. And I know for the basic ROM in a Commodore 64 bread bin that the chip select line, there's only one chip select line in the 2364 ROM type, and it's active low. If I'm configuring a character ROM, then that's a 2332 chip, and that has 2 chip select lines. On the Commodore 64, chip select line 1 is active low, chip select line 2 is active high. But this setting, active low, is right for my Commodore 64. Now, if you're programming OneROM to emulate an EPROM, for example, a 27 or 28 series EPROM, then you don't need to configure the chip select logic because the chip enable and the output enable lines that those chips have are always active low. We've done everything that we now need to do to configure the programmer to program this OneROM to serve a Commodore 64 basic ROM. So the next thing we do is we press build firmware. That's already built. And then we program the OneROM. And that's now programmed. Now if we scroll back up to the top, the programmer, after programming, has automatically reconnected to the new firmware running on this OneROM and queried it, and we have a good firmware, we have the version that we expect, and now we have a Commodore 64 basic ROM installed on this OneROM. This is now ready to unplug and install in my Commodore 64 and work as a basic ROM. Now you might see slightly different behavior from the programming tool depending on the specific version of firmware you have on your OneROM. This is a different OneROM to the one I just programmed, so I'm going to plug this one in and connect to it. So I plug this one in, and here you can see that the LED is lit much more brightly than the other OneROM. That's because this OneROM is actually running, it's not stopped. And I can show you that by connecting to it in the tool. And here we can see this is identified as a OneROM, not a RP2350 device. So I'm going to connect to that. And here we can see that this OneROM is running, and it's running the 069 firmware, and we can see it's got a different set of images, including the Commodore 64 character ROM. Now to program this device, we go through the same steps. So we provide it with a ROM image. Here I'm going to give it a character ROM, and I'm going to select 2332, no size handling because it's the right size ROM image, and then CS1 active low and CS2 active high. By the way, if you don't know what the chip select line configuration for your particular system is, try them all. You're not going to damage something by configuring OneROM with the wrong chip select behavior. So just try all the different combinations until you find one that works. But it's generally fairly easy to find out what the configuration is for your system by searching online. I've now configured this programmer to program this OneROM with a character ROM. So the next thing I need to do is build the firmware. but you can see that the program button is grayed out. I can't click it. That's because with this version of OneROM, the OneROM firmware is running and the programmer cannot program it while it's running. If this were plugged into a system right now, it would be serving the bytes. So I need to manually stop the OneROM firmware and then reconnect to the device, and you can see it's now called RP2350 boot. That's because this OneROM is now in bootloader mode. Reconnect to it. It's reanalyzed it and it knows the device is stopped. So we can now program this device and go back to the top, and we can see it's been programmed with the Commodore 64 character ROM. Now if you buy a OneROM from me, when you plug it into your system and use this web programmer to connect to it, you'll see one of the two OneROM types that we just looked at. However, if you get your own OneROMs made, or you buy OneROM from someone who hasn't already programmed it, then I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll plug in a blank, unprogrammed OneROM, and we can see the light is lit dimly. I'll then connect to the device, and you can see here we get device status, no firmware. And that means that the web programmer has no idea what sort of OneROM this is. So to program this, we go down to custom image. We need to populate the device configuration. So this is a Fire model, but it's a Fire 24E. It's got 24 pins, and there's a small marking on the silk screen, I think here on this model, that says E. And if you have a 24-pin OneROM and it's USB-C, then it's revision E. Unless you're Adrian Black and you damaged one of your OneROMs, and I had to produce a custom OneROM type just for you. You select MCU variant, RP2350, and then the firmware version should auto-populate to the latest version, which it has. Now upload your ROM image as normal. Let's make this a basic ROM. CS Logic active low, build firmware, program it. And now the programmer has rescanned the device and can see it's running the OneROM firmware, knows what sort of device it is, and know that it's got a Commodore 64 basic ROM installed. So that's a quick tutorial on programming OneROM using the web-based tool, which is, I think, the easiest way to program OneROMs. If you want to do something more advanced, like for example you want to have multiple ROM images installed on a single OneROM and use the header pins to switch between them at boot time, then you need to use a different tool, either the OneROM command line interface or the OneROM Studio desktop tool. Next time around, we're going to look at the command line interface, which is the easiest way of performing more advanced operations on your OneROM. So I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, please do consider subscribing, sticking around for the next video. Till then, rock on.